Very good evening and welcome here on Sheffield Live TV, Talking Sheffield, of a Thursday night. It's the final lap of the football season. We'll be talking about that in some depth, of course. The race is also on for places at the Olympic Games, in particular for Louise Bloor, the training partner of Jess Ennis-Hill. And Louise, I'm delighted to say, is in the studio, joins us this evening. Good evening, Louise.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming in, despite the injury. We'll talk about that in a minute. And Glyn Rhodes, boxing trainer, because the countdown is on after the race is on for Olympic places and the end of the football season, promotion, etc. Countdown's on to a special dinner in the area to honour a very special guy, and I was privileged and really proud looking back in the 1980s to interview, and the late 70s as well, to interview and commentate on Harold Bomber Graham. Now, Harold's not been in the best of ways just lately. He's had illness problems, all sorts of problems, and there's a special dinner in his honour, and we're going to talk about that with Glyn here on Saturday night. He's a hell of a guy, isn't he?
He's a great guy. Yeah, I've known him, believe it or not, since we were both 16. We're both exactly the same age. His birthday's in September, mine's in October, so I've known him since we were 16, so that's a lot of years.
It certainly is, and it's some years, and I'm frightened to think of just how many years it is since Harold was British and Commonwealth and European champion.
Exactly.
We're going back 36 or 7 years, something of that nature.
Did you have to remind me of that?
Oh, me? I've got to remind myself. But Harold needs putting back on his feet. And that's, you know, he's never knocked down really, was he?
No,
he was never not on his feet as a boxer, but he needs putting on his feet.
He needs a little bit of help. So what's happening on Saturday? You know, Mick Lawless has put a show together, and there's going to be a lot of people there from the past. It's going to be great catching up with people, you know, we've not seen for many years. I've been looking on Twitter and Facebook at the people who are turning up, and I can't wait to get there because we're going to be reminiscing about the good old days, and there's going to be some flat noses there. It's going to be a good night.
Flat noses, including yours.
Including mine. Yeah, so it's going to be a great night.
Louise, neither of us is in the flat nose department, I'm glad to say.
I nearly was at the start, I think.
Yeah, I did. I saw that. I don't know if anybody follows us on Twitter, but he was getting stuck in there, weren't you? You were knocking her out of the Olympic Games, because that really is the dream, the ambition, looking to qualify for the 4x100 metre sprint relay team. So where are you at the moment?
We're in a fantastic place following the indoor season. I came third in the 60 metres indoors at the Nationals, and then won the 200 metre title. So that was a fantastic place to be in. And then ran the week after that, and with the bounce of a plyometric, which is just a jump over the hurdle, felt a twinge in my back, and 3.5 weeks later we found a small crack in one of the vertebrae, which isn't ideal preparation. It's devastating. The Olympics is what you dream of, and for me, I was injured when I was younger with a very similar injury. So for 8 years later, you almost qualified for an Olympics, things looking really good, and then it happens again. But I think many people are optimistic. We've had a few issues, a few setbacks with it, because I am so hypersensitive to the injury, with it being similar to a previous one. But if we can get another 7 weeks solid training in, just continue to build, then hopefully we'll be in a good place to try and salvage and get back at that plane ticket that I think we want to Rio.
Okay. Well, one painkiller you've got is being a Rotherham United supporter in defeated relegation. We'll talk about that later as well. We've got Rob Staten coming in from BBC Radio Sheffield, who just in the last few minutes has been wrapping up a chat on Football Heaven with man of the moment Neil Warnock. But Rob will be here specifically to talk about the Owls and the Blades a little later. Let's get back to you and that injury. Of course, you're training partner of Jess. And well documented, of course, she had her own injury, heartbreak, didn't she?
Yeah.
A few years ago. Does her experience of that help you to come through?
I think I remember when Jess came back from her stress fracture, and she was coming back at the same time as I was coming back from my stress fracture. I was out for quite a long time, so we kind of rehabbed together coming through. So we both experienced similar heartache with it. For Jess, that affected Beijing, and unfortunately she did miss those games, but came back 12 months later to become world champion, which was an incredible and unbelievable achievement. And she's achieved so much since then. And then following having Reggie, she was world champion again last year. So she's achieved some incredible things. And every athlete has injury problems. Unfortunately, it's part and parcel of sport. And it's going to be cruel because the timing is never right, but there's some absolutely dreadful timing, and for me this is the worst possible timing that it could ever happen.
Could ever be,
because we've just not got enough time to let it heal, and that is the reality. Like doctor said, it's not going to heal. All we're doing is managing the pain. It's like you've got a choice: you can either stop or you can run through it. Now, as a 30-year-old athlete who's this close to an Olympic Games, your mindset is, I'm just going to do my best to run through it.
No, now or never.
Yeah, exactly,
Really.
exactly. It's no regrets, isn't it? You've put everything into it. It's all you've dreamt of. It's all you've worked for. You've made the sacrifices. You've put in the hours, the sweat. Everything's gone in there. You're just asking your body to hold out for 3 more months.
Yeah.
And then you can let it heal.
Yeah, so you can cope with the pain somehow as long as it doesn't affect the performance. That's the
I think that's
key,
what it
isn't
is. If you can get through every training session, if I can still do a few block starts and reduce the volume maybe of what we're doing, but if we can still maintain the quality in 3-4 days a week training, then after 10 years training that I've got behind me and such a solid winter, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to come out and and rescue the season and hopefully run relatively well at the nationals and then selections 12th of July and
12th of July.
12th of July.
2 months.
Yeah, and we've got the Europeans between that as well. So hopefully you can get a selection on there and show that you're fit and you're ready to go.
Okay, for those who don't know it, but I'm sure you do, Louise has been kind of in and out of the headlines for 10, 12, 13 years now, haven't you? You've been around
Depends how fast
quite
I'm running.
a long time. Former national indoor champion, bronze medalist, European team championships. But you can kind of have this opportunity to catapult yourself from being a known figure, certainly within athletics, to becoming a figure that everybody knows, like Jess. So that's quite one Olympic Games can do that, can't it?
I think one Olympic Games can do a lot for an athlete in terms of your profile and the experience. I think it highlights your experiences and what you've done. People want to talk to you about it and people want to know what you've been through and how you got there. I think that is for me, I've always been the working athlete and I was never on funding, and this year I landed myself on funding on a relay programme and everything was going incredibly well. So you want to see that through. You really want to show him that you can still achieve. If you don't get on funding, if somebody sits there and says we're not going to fund you because we don't believe in you yet, and that's essentially how you can interpret it. It's like, don't give up, because you can. It is possible to find a work training balance. It's not ideal. You would want to be a full-time athlete, but you can still do that, and you can still push forward. You can still achieve those things. And for me, I really wanted to. I've been through. I'd always say I'm more of an upstream approach with athletics, but I do want to get there and show that it is possible. You can be an Olympian, and don't let anything or anyone get in your way to doing that.
What do you do outside athletics?
I'm a performance nutritionist.
Yeah, of course,
yeah. So I work with GB boxing. No, don't boxing. That'd be my territory. I work with GB taekwondo, diving, and judo.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was me again. I used to work in a school, and that was me just loving high performance sport and wanting to be a part of it.
Well, come back to that, because you're kind of directly or indirectly going to be involved in the Olympics, whether or not you go there as an athlete. But in order to be there, you have to get there as an athlete, don't you? You wouldn't get there on your nutritionist banner.
No, unfortunately not. They will take some practitioners. I know GB Boxing always take the nutritionist there. That's my supervisor. He'll always go, but none of my sports are going to take a nutritionist with them. So unfortunately, if I don't go as an athlete, I'm not going at all.
Right.
So
fingers crossed for you.
Let's go for it.
Glyn, we're talking pain there. You're no stranger to it. That's what boxers live with.
That's boxing.
Day in, day out.
Yeah, injuries. Yeah, most injuries that boxers pick up are usually your hands. Boxers, apart from facial injuries, a lot of boxers suffer more with their hands than any other injury. Than any athlete, because basically once your hands are ruined, careers can be finished. Joe Calzaghe used to. Sometimes he only used to fight once a year, because every time he used to fight, he used to damage his hands. So injuries is just a big part of boxing.
They're your tools of your trade.
Exactly.
And whatever. And Harold Bomber Graham, coming back to him, who you'll know by name, but obviously you're too young to have seen in the ring. Not just his hands, but his feet. He had dancing feet. And he was very quick and agile, and people couldn't get near him. He was a classical boxer, wasn't he?
Unbelievable. Before Errol Graham, boxing in Sheffield, there was boxing, but then Errol Graham came along. And I remember back in the day when Sheffield didn't have many sporting heroes, Seb Coe and Errol Graham. Errol Graham were a legend back in the days. And I remember then, luckily for me, to box on the undercard of him, places like City Hall, them nights were unbelievable. We've got boxing in Sheffield now, and there's, we've got the the heavyweight champion sometimes comes down to Sheffield to the IAS. But back then, there were no famous boxers as such in Sheffield.
No, he broke the mould, and he was in at the start of Sheffield's boxing boom. I mean, you can go on with all the names subsequently, can't you? From Johnny Nelson, Brian Anderson, Ryan Rhodes, Naz
exactly.
I mean, it's just right up to Kell Brook.
Exactly, and they've all got a little trait of Errol Graham as well. You know the style of Errol Graham that he brought along to boxing. Because before Errol, nobody were doing that. You know, there were the fighters such as Sugar Ray Leonard and your Muhammad Ali's, but in Sheffield, nobody were boxing like that. Everybody that I knew, when I was at Brendan's the year before Errol came, and everybody were boxing how boxers are supposed to.
Used to,
hands up, chin.
Yeah.
This kind. Errol Graham comes along and he kind of like changes all that.
He got criticised for it actually by sort of dancing out of the way. People weren't getting the blood and guts, were they?
Exactly, but the guy was an unbelievable talent. And what you've also got to remember with Errol Graham, when he was at the top of his game, the people who were above him were your people like your Marvin Haglers, your Sugar Ray Leonards, your Tommy Earns, your Durans, and he were up there with the best of them. So he was a great fighter.
So the tribute dinner, and the background to it is that Harold's hit hard times. So you keep in regular touch with him.
Yeah, I speak to Harold very regular. But what happens, it's this typical story of a boxer. He's reached the heights that he's reached. The money goes. Once the money goes, the friends go. It's a typical story. Mike Tyson, if you ask Mike Tyson where his money's gone, he don't even know and he earned billions. So, this is the same story with a lot of athletes, footballers, boxers. And then once you finish boxing, what do boxers do? If you've been boxing, I started boxing when I was 16 and I finished at 33. And then what do? Go and get a job. Doing what? You've been training all your life.
What you've done is open a gym, and you're a trainer. But Harold was a different mentality, and we talked about the physical side of boxing and the pain, but it can be mental. And I know that very sadly he's suffered from depression, hasn't he?
I take my hat off to him for coming out and letting people know about the depression, because depression and boxing don't kind of like go together, because on one side you're this macho professional boxer, tough and hard, but on the other side, you've got demons and he suffers depression. So I take my hat off to him for coming out and letting people know that just because he's a former champion, he still suffers with depression. And I think it's worse because for people like Errol, who's been to the heights that he's been.
Yes.
You want to look at people like your Sugar Ray Leonards and Frank Brunos and people like Oscar De La Hoya. These are people that after the careers are over, they might be financially secure. Your De La Hoyas and your Leonards, but they end up taking drugs because
they can't replace the high that they had in the ring.
And it's all right if you've got loads of money like Sugar Ray Leonard and De La Hoyas and that, but could you imagine people who've not got the financial support?
Harold made relatively little, I would imagine.
Yeah, compared to these people.
I don't know how careful he was, but he has hit hard times financially, which is another reason for the dinner. And it's at the Magna in Rotherham. How many tickets have you sold? I think
we're going up to 300 tickets.
That's good.
Which is
still time to people to get them,
Right up to the last minute, give Mick Lawless a call. Yeah, I'm sure there must be a cut-off point for the meals.
Or people can contact the Magna
contact
itself.
The Magna or Mick Lawless.
Or yourself.
No, don't contact me.
He's just not an organiser. Disorganised.
Disorganised.
We won't give your number then.
No.
Tell us about the guest list, because you said you were excited.
There's going to be some former champions there. Henry Wharton is going to be there. Sheffield's John Buster Keane. I've heard that Kell Brook's turning up. There's all the young kids from I'm saying the young kids from my gym who was around when I was training Errol. The guys who were 14, 15, 16, they're all like mature blokes now, so they're all going. I've got Carl Wilde, John Fuchs. We've got a good bunch of kids from our gym who Errol helped to nurture when he was training at our gym. So it's going to be a who's who of boxing.
Excellent. I really hope that more people will come now after you've heard about it here, and you've been on the radio as well this week to publicise that. And you don't know him, Louise, but it's important not just what people achieve in sport, but what they're like as people. Do you feel that yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, we were talking about that the other day in British Judo. We were saying that obviously British Judo has never had an Olympic gold champion, but what is more valuable, is it to have one Olympic gold champion or 5 or 6 that don't quite have the social skills that aren't inspirational, or just this one champion that is the overall champion, not just a winner on the mat or in the ring or on the track, but can inspire people and really bring more sport and put back into the community. And I think that's absolutely huge in sport. I think inspiring people and encouraging them to get involved and just go out there and achieve and just get out and do different things. I think that's absolutely a valuable thing, as opposed to just having the champions on their own.
You think of Jess as a person, the way she comes across, the ambassadorial skills, diplomatic skills, and projection. But you also think of Dame Kelly Holmes and how she had to battle for many years. Do you identify with her in a way, because it was relatively late in her career when she made that Olympic breakthrough, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was for Kelly. She was like early 30s, wasn't she? And I'm 30 now.
Yeah.
I mean, Kelly achieved on individual events, which is absolutely outstanding. That's, reality for me, I want a relay slot. I want to be pushing for a run in the heats and maybe in the strike force and run in the final. And that would be absolutely unbelievable, because female sprinting is just, it's incredible at the minute. It's really good. It's the best it's been in decades. And we really can get on that podium. And I really genuinely believe we can get on that podium when you look at our times together and we make safe transitions. Excellent. There's no reason why we can't be. If I can bag an individual slot in the 200, then, that would be ultimate icing on the cake to go out there and represent the country as an individual. That would be brilliant. So
marvellous.
Yeah, there's no age limit. It's not capped. You're never too old.
Nor should there be. 30 is very young. Do you not agree, Glyn? 30 is a very young age.
It makes
Indeed.
It makes you feel old though in sport, because you grow up as an under 17 and as a junior and as an under 23, and once you're past under 23, you're a senior, and therefore you're classed as old. So you're 24 years old, feeling ancient in sport.
No substitute for experience. But we talked about the way people are there with Louise, and Harold exemplified that, because I knew him quite well, and interviewed him a lot, and such a nice guy. He made you feel very happy talking to him. He was always good with the public, couldn't do enough for them. And that goes a long way, doesn't it?
It does, and that's why so many people have turned up. Errol lives in London at the moment, but that's why almost 300 people are going to be sat in the Magna on the night, because there's other guys who I could name that wouldn't fill,
who may have achieved more.
Yeah, they may have achieved more, but they won't fill the same venue. But the reason there's that many people going to be turning up in Sheffield at Magna is because he was such a nice guy, and so people want to support him. And if we can do that and just raise a bit of money for him, brilliant, it'd be great.
Sheffield does that for its own. Remember some years ago, Tony Curry and Sheffield United. They helped him back onto his feet, and it was not just because he was a wonderful footballer, because look at the guy he is as well.
He's a nice person.
The empathy. But as I say, you could scarcely have believed what happened, and such credit to the legend that is Brendan Ingle, who started all this off,
and still continuing with it. It's like the fighters that have come out of the Ingle camp since I was there. I started in 1976, and there was a few professionals, and then Errol Graham came along. And they're still turning fighters out now, and if I can continue doing that as well, what Brendan taught me for all them years, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I remember that one thing about Harold. I'm not so sure if he wasn't a bit lazy, and I think he needed a boot up his backside now and again. What are you like in that department, Louise? Are you self-motivated and get out there training, or do you sometimes say, I want another 10 minutes here, I'm not getting up today? What's your approach?
Generally, we have a time that you need to be down there for, so you get down there and you warm up with the group.
Yeah.
There's always jokes at the minute about the watt bike sessions that we should do, and that they're pretty brutal and ruthless, and nobody really likes to do them. So you have the ability you're supposed to do a watt bike session, but you can procrastinate and delay it and just walk around the gym for a little bit before you actually get onto it.
Exactly?
But you're delaying the inevitable. What, the watt bike? Yeah. It's just a normal bike that you get in the gym, but a lot of the British cyclists would use it. For us, it free wheels, so it's better than a spinning bike, because a spinning bike the pedals will still go when you want to stop, whereas this free wheels, and it's much better to work on, and you get better sessions.
You've got a very hard taskmaster in Tony Minicillo, our friend who's been in this studio a couple of times. And he frets a bit, I should think, because all these injuries. He's got these athletes who are never fit.
No, we're fit. Yeah, it's Olympic year, and I think for some reason the smallest niggle is just amplified. Not just with the coach, but with the athlete as well. And you've got a fantastic support team around you, not just with Tony, but with all the medical as well and the physios. They're all there to help you out. So it's just about keeping your head straight, and you've put the work in. The work's there. It's just staying as fit and healthy as you possibly can.
We look forward to talking more to Louise in 5 minutes. I know you'll rejoin us. Rob Staten is with us to talk football. James Gregg about everything else. And Glyn, see you then.